Welcome to StickTalk, where we speak to hospitality professionals on what they like, what they do, and what they drink. I'm Kapri Robinson.
I'm Danae Jones.
And I am Tracie Franklin, Glenfiddich Ambassador for the East Coast of the United States.
And this episode is brought to you by Glenfiddich.
Woo!
Yeah!
Okay.
How are you today?
I am very good, really happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you
Yeah,
for being
super
here.
happy to
I'm
have you here.
excited. What do you have for us first?
So honestly, it's still fairly early. We know we closed out some bars last night, so I
Yes.
just wanted to give everybody a highball.
Yes!
So this is really great to start your day. It's small, so it's low ABV, but what it does is it extends the flavors of the whiskey. So Glenfiddich is known for its malty, fruity, vanilla sort of notes. We have a long fermentation, which tends to add some esters to your whiskey, which means you're going to get some pear and some apple. And that's what we're
Which I
going
can
to be
already
looking for.
smell that right now.
Right?
Yes.
I like that little hefty pour right
Shake
there.
that. Right?
I like that one.
And that one. So I actually really enjoy kind of just accentuating the fact that we're going to have that fruit. I love lemon bitters or grapefruit bitters, and it makes it feel like it's a breakfast drink, right? Just super
I'm all about
easy.
brunchy drinks. Day drinking in general.
Day drinking is dangerous.
It's dangerous,
Drink
but also
In all the best ways.
you end it early, which is amazing, and
Yes.
you go to sleep and you feel like you've had 12 hours of sleep because you probably did.
Exactly. That is probably the reality of what happened. So one of the things that I really love about working for Glenfiddich is I'm working for a company that is still independent, family run.
Awesome.
So we are not dealing with a board, we are really dealing with a family that is trying to continue their legacy and their traditions, and that's pretty exciting. So
Absolutely.
not only do we have really traditional sort of whiskeys like our Glenfiddich 12, which is which is sherry cask and bourbon cask whiskeys blended together to create this beautiful flavor.
Yes.
But we have things like our Fire Cane, which is a peated whiskey finished in rum casks. We have our Project 20, which was 20 different ambassadors got together and selected barrels from our Dunnage warehouse. And those are blended together, so it's port, sherry, ex-bourbon, and new American oak casks. So, I'm right, actually. So that is, we've also got experimentation happening as well as just regular, traditional sort of Scotch whiskeys that you can get from all over the beautiful country of Scotland.
That's amazing. You're just so well versed in whiskey in general. How did you get started in this industry? What brought you to whiskey?
Yeah, what reeled you into the Scotch world?
Well, really, it started because I was a fan. I started as a singer. I toured nationally and internationally with a few different productions.
Awesome.
And that allowed me to really travel the world and experience flavor in a way that I never had before. I started to look for a spirit that I could drink that wasn't going to be, I didn't have to drink a lot of, but that really provided me with a really beautiful sense of flavor. And I was in Canada. Somebody opened a bottle there that I could smell across the bar, and I was just like, I want to try that. So that's first what I did was I got started in whiskey. I'm not doing a very good job of this, guys. Just so you know.
You're doing great.
And it was a peated whiskey. So peated whiskeys are created by adding peat, which is a broken down biomaterials. They make a brick from basically broken down trees and grass, and depending on where you are, maybe maritime sort of materials. That brick is burned underneath your barley, which has been germinated, so it turned its starches already into sugar.
Okay.
Now we just want to make sure those sugars stay and it doesn't turn into a piece of grass.
Right.
So we dry it out by putting some fire underneath. Now if you put a brick of peat underneath it, all of that smoke then gets enveloped and covers that piece of barley, and you now have malted barley that's smoky.
Awesome. So heating it up stops it from
germinating further, from actually creating that barley shoot.
Right. Oh,
okay.
Okay.
So it prevents it
Don't
from
explain
sprouting.
that to me.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Good to know.
Yeah, so that is what we are doing. Here is your highball, my darling.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
That
My
looks
pleasure.
divine.
I'm going to sip mine as well because
Yes.
we're having a conversation.
Indeed.
That's what this is about.
Absolutely, please.
Thank you.
So peated whiskey can be aggressive. But I
To
love
the
it.
untrained
Yes,
palate.
absolutely. I absolutely loved it. It was bright. It was oily. It was rich. It was viscous. It was something I'd never experienced before. So I went into a lot of peated whiskeys, but then realized my palate was being overwhelmed. And when I did get something like a Glenfiddich, which is a much softer Speyside style of whiskey, I wasn't tasting the nuance. So I started working my way back through whiskey, and it really led me to learn about all whiskeys. So not just Scotch, but bourbons, American whiskeys, Taiwanese whiskeys, whatever it may be, whatever was in front of me, I wanted to learn. So I really found, though, that my palate kept leading me back to barley-based spirits, whether that be American malts or Scottish malts. I just really love the complexity. So I decided I wanted to study them a little bit more. My first job was actually with Glenmorangie and Ardbeg out of New York, where I was strategic.
Okay.
And so that was really where I got hands-on, and then started working with different distillers all over the U.S. And anywhere anyone would let me do anything that was involving whiskey,
right in there.
I was there.
Yes.
Because I just didn't see anybody else that looked like me doing the same things, and I wanted to be able to share this passion that I was gaining, this knowledge that I had with everyone, whether or not you look like me. But I knew by sharing with this package, no matter what, we were going to create inclusivity.
Yeah,
Yes.
of course.
Period.
Absolutely.
Just by seeing me, it was already it was already a statement. So I started a company in New York called Whisky. We were all about increasing diversity in the world of whiskey. So basically a whiskey marketing company that was aimed at younger people, people of color, LGBT community, whatever it may be.
Nice.
If I didn't see you at my whiskey classes, I'd make it an event so you could come out.
Yes.
This was my class. And from that, my platform sort of built, and different brands started to see me. I worked with Angel's Envy before. I worked with Whistlepig. I worked with a lot of different people. But Glenfiddich came calling, and Scotch whiskey was my passion.
Yes.
And so that's
where it
what I'm doing
started.
now. It's been a little bit over
Yes.
3 years with Glenfiddich. They are just as motivated and just as dedicated to increasing diversity, to making sure that whiskey is not just this precious thing that you put on the back shelf
Right.
and don't touch, but that it
Just
is
stare at, like,
Yeah.
that it's
And just
so
wonder
many
what it
bottles
tastes
are
like.
like,
right.
I wonder what that tastes
I wonder
like.
what that would be like.
And we'll just never try.
Well,
yeah.
first I got to get my law degree before I taste
Exactly.
whiskey. But I think that a lot of people have thought that. Oh, Slangeva.
Cheers. Or what was it?
Yes.
So Slangeva.
Slangeva.
Yes. So to your health in Gaelic, and actually why we're called Glenfiddich. So we are not. So if you look at it, obviously, looks like Glenfiddich. I hear you. I hear you. I'm sure that I said Glenfiddich when I first saw it. Too.
I'm definitely guilty
Yes.
of saying Glenfiddich. So I was like, oh, so it's
Yes. So what it is it's actually means something. So we are in Dufftown, a small city in Scotland, in northern region of Scotland, in this area they call Speyside. And Dufftown is actually, we're in a valley. So we are underneath Clonville Hills. It's about 38 degrees for our valley, and we sit right in the base of it on the River Fiddich. Now the River Fiddich goes right behind, but because we're in a valley, Glen Valley, Fiddich, Gaelic for deer. Valley of the Deer. We've got our
you got
stag.
your nice
We got stag,
yes.
everybody.
Names
So
that
it all
mean
makes
something.
The
sense.
stag is everywhere, and I love it.
So we don't want people to have to run around saying Glenfiddich, which is what you would do more, a bit more guttural. So Glenfiddich is closest, and you won't spit on your neighbor.
Yeah. Earlier you said that you did singing and production.
I did.
Is there anything that you took from that and use while you're doing your ambassadorship and class?
Well, what's interesting is I take good and bad from it because
Okay.
I still have that. I still worry about creating this whole picture, which includes like myself and do I fit in? Am I being what they want? Which is what I was as an actor. It was always being what other people wanted of you versus am I bringing my true self in to actually create the change so that more people who are like me can just be here.
Right.
So it's a balance that I do have to admit that I consciously have to think about. But what I've also gained is the ability to just stand here and chat with you.
Right. Yeah. It gives you an immediate comfortability.
Absolutely. And to get up in front of an audience and kind of just shoot from the hip to also stay attuned to where my audience wants to go. What do they want to talk about? Are they getting bored? Do I need to throw in a joke? I don't really tell many jokes because my jokes are super cheesy. But I am also...
Cheese is good for a crowd.
It is, but I'm also really sincere.
Yes.
So I think that what ends up happening is I'm just so sincere that they laugh at me anyway.
Yeah,
It's more like,
it works.
I don't need jokes. They're like, oh, you're so cute, you know? It's kind of one of those. I think they'll sorry for me.
No.
I highly doubt they're
you know
feeling
what I
sorry,
mean?
but I know exactly what you mean.
No,
They're
seriously.
just like, she likes us so much.
That's really good.
But it's been a great way to start.
It does, and it definitely does elongate those
Refreshing.
flavors of the Scotch for sure.
Absolutely.
So this is one of those things when people say they're afraid of single malt scotches or Scotch in general. I want to hand on this. Oftentimes, I also want them to have something like Glenfiddich, something that's going to be a little bit sweeter, softer. It's going to be just a little more approachable. I think the R12 especially has enough layers that you can learn to grow within the category. But luckily for us, we also have a bunch of different whiskeys within the portfolio that have different flavors, and so you can always find what's perfect for you.
Exactly.
Yes.
So as an ambassador, what do you do? What is an ambassador?
So it totally depends on what company you work for. Again,
Right.
I work for William Grant & Sons, family-owned, independent-run company. We were some of the first to create the role of brand ambassador. That was considered a very specific position that was marketing only. Here we go. So marketing and commercial are very different things. Marketing is really about making someone fall in love with this product, fall in love with you, fall in love with that story. Commercial selling cases.
Right.
Great.
Exactly.
But when you tie those together, you start to create ulterior motives for your marketing. So that person that's in market that's supposed to be making people fall in love with them is also thinking, okay, but I can't love you if I can't pull cases, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
So by creating two separate entities of marketing and commercial, you're really able to live the brand the way you believe it should be lived in market, and with whom you believe will fall in love and will be a part of your world. You're able to really do it in a different way than if you also then have to sell cases and make sure that you're moving. While I will always keep that in mind,
Right.
if there's a way that we can work together to make sure, because in the end we're all selling.
Yes.
So if I always will keep that in mind, but because I'm with William Grant as a brand ambassador, that's not my ulterior motive. So for me, it's about education.
Yes.
It's about passion.
Yeah.
It's about really bringing the brand world to life, which is hard sometimes because right now we're doing some shifting where when I came in, I was focused in on making sure that Glenfiddich's world was just inclusive. It was just fun, it was open, everyone should be here. And now we're starting to come out with some whiskeys that are a bit higher in the price range. So our Glenfiddich Grand Cru, which is our 23-year-old, we're gonna have our new Glenfiddich 50 is gonna be launching this year. So it's taking that inclusivity and also making sure that it's aligned with luxury.
Right.
Because we actually have one of the largest selections of aged whiskey in all of Scotland.
Oh wow.
So we're really lucky.
to that.
Yeah, right? So we've got these older whiskeys that everyone's looking for. Everyone wants this premium, high quality aged whiskey. We've got tons of it.
Right.
Yeah, but people don't often think Glenfiddich and luxury in the same breath. It's not, people aren't like...
They're not synonymous
It's
with
not
each
okay.
other right now.
I always did. I don't know if it's because I knew through you and what the events that you do, but I've
Okay.
always
Thank you, high five. Hey, boss.
put it together as like and maybe just I guess the only I'm not gonna down any other
Yeah,
scotches.
no.
But yeah, I've always thought
it should be
Glenfiddich
elevated.
luxury. But you
Good.
also just your events and the education that you put together are always so beautiful and makes you feel like
But you bring
are
a certain air of elegance and
inclusive,
classiness to the brand, so
exclusive.
by default
Thank
you're
you.
going to associate that with elegance and luxury and that type of thing because you present yourself that way.
Thank
You present
you.
the brand
Right.
that way. So
Well, that is exactly what I want to do because this is something that while we're making highballs right now, we're mixing it, right? Where I make cocktails with it. I do whatever I want with the liquid
Right.
to make sure it's approachable for you, to make sure it's something you can fall in love with.
Right.
But I still respect it immensely.
Yeah.
Like that is something that someone spent years working on. We have just people working at our distillery in Dufton that have been there for 50, almost 60 years.
Wow,
that
yeah.
have been working at the same distillery. This is their lifeblood. They train their children to come in after them with the same traditions.
Yeah.
And
I love that so much.
I love
yeah,
it.
me too.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I love the emphasis on like legacy and
Yes.
being really committed to
so huge.
something
Yes.
like
It's
that.
so huge, and when you get to go and see
Oh my gosh.
them doing their work and really be like, my closest thing is going to Kentucky
Yes.
and going to, even knowing Jim Beam is huge, but like going and seeing the family, and talking to them and like. I drank whiskey at 5. Oh, okay. These are things that
Yeah.
they've done.
Yeah.
And like, this is their life. So it's just always so great to see what's behind the liquid, and sometimes you're not able to grasp that on this side of the bar, you know. And I encourage everyone, if you have a chance, go to a distillery and watch what they're doing, because there's so much that goes into making these one bottles. But
if you plan to go to Glenfiddich, reach out.
You ain't got to tell me twice.
But recently you won brand ambassador of
I
the
did.
year.
It's kind of insane. So Whiskey Magazine,
So amazing.
they do it in different countries, different markets. So basically, I won for the United States, so I'm now an icon of whiskey for the U.S.
Yes.
Stop.
Cheers to that one.
Okay, cheers again.
Cheers to you.
Seriously, that is amazing.
We gotta let that one breathe.
It's I like can say it's humbling, because I know ambassadors that are brilliant, and for me to be and even other icons of whiskey who've won, and to even be in the same breath, for someone to talk about Tracie Franklin in the same breath as some of these ambassadors is incredible, and nothing I expected. So yeah, that blew my mind.
Amazing.
It really did. I just hope to really continue to take this role to a new level, to create new connections, to really bring the education in a way that is inclusive. And I know I keep saying that, but it was the one thing that hurt me so much when I started. I loved whiskey. I wanted to be included, and I would go to these events and people would talk down to me. They would just question, why are you even here? And it was the people who were actually representing the brands, people pouring it, that were like, come on. And they always, if I had any questions, if I wanted to meet up for coffee and just ask questions, they were always available to me. So the fact that the brands wanted me there, it was the people around it that didn't always understand why I cared or why I wanted to be a part of that world. Because really, that wasn't a model I'd seen, right? There weren't a bunch of Scotch whiskey ads with beautiful women of color running around in it, or that didn't exist yet. However, Glenfiddich 14, when that launched, they actually put an ad out, and it was a woman of color. Her hair was natural and out, and she was bringing whiskey, the Glenfiddich 14, to her dad. And he was like a guitar maker, and she brought it to him, and she was like poured it out and was like, Dad, let's drink whiskey. And I could literally all right, now I just started bawling. It was the first time I saw myself. That was me in an ad.
Right.
Like, this is going out to people all across the U.S.
Yes.
And
I'm gonna go look up the. I'm gonna go.
I was gonna say, now I want to see the ad.
It just brought, because I had started whiskey about 3 years, maybe 4 years prior to that, and the goal was to change the face of whiskey. I didn't know I was going to be the face. I didn't know I was going to then become an ambassador, and then win an award, and then to really be on the tongues, to be in Forbes, and a picture in Forbes magazine of me with a sword. That was me.
Cheers to that. Look, cheers to you.
With Scotch whiskey. That's a crazy prospect that I hadn't actually thought would come true. I just thought I was going to be making a path for somebody else.
And you still are.
I am, but I think the world is, because of people like Lynn House, the world was more ready already than I expected. They were like, oh, okay, that's not super weird. Come on, let's do this.
Right.
And let's keep boosting you up, because you're talented and you're working really hard. And I guess I was expecting that it was going to be a little harder
Actually,
to make that
segue.
change.
So on that, in that same vein, I guess I'll say, do you feel like there's a misconception just about the fact that not only people of color, but also that women of color just aren't into scotches at all? It started with not into whiskey at all, but then another layer
now
of it
American
was
whiskey
you're definitely not touching scotch. And why do you think that is?
Well, I think it's because we don't drink it as much as some of the other populations. It's been something that's been taught for a lot of populations or just cultures, that single malt scotch is what you use to celebrate. You graduate law school, you drink a single malt. It's your birthday, you drink a single malt. This has been taught.
It's like pulling it out.
They're blowing off the dust.
Exactly.
Not exactly. But grandma
or your grandfather's pouring it
now.
you.
Grandpa taught me to drink, and then I'm going to teach my kid. It's something that has always been kind of in the peripherals as this highly esteemed spirit. For us, it was just scotch. There wasn't special. There's nothing that we really necessarily thought I personally didn't think, I kind of just thought it's going to put hair on your chest. Right? Because that's what everyone knows. It's so strong. It's going to put hair on your chest. It's sorry for the clap. It's super smoky. So I didn't want to drink it, honestly. And then someone sat me down. They found out I liked big, bold red wines, and they're like, honestly, you'd like Scotch. I was like, oh.
Are you sure?
So I actually, they poured me a Scotch. I tasted it, and I didn't love it. But I was no longer afraid.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now we have enough people in the industry that are willing to educate everyone, so people are no longer afraid. So while I think, yes, we weren't drinking it as much maybe 10 years ago, for sure 10 years ago, right now we're drinking everything. The whole category, we don't care. We want to know. If you're willing to provide me education and a sample, I'll sit and I'll learn. And that's where there's no longer, you can no longer say, I'm targeting this group because they do this. No. Everybody drinks differently. Everyone is open to experimentation, especially at our ages. Everyone's experimenting. So I have been working really hard with my company to make sure that we no longer try to create silos of like, okay, for this type of person we want to do this, because it doesn't work.
Right.
You know, all of our worlds are intermingled.
Yes.
And Scotch whiskey for me, or whiskey in general, is the one thing I think that can tie everyone together. So why are we trying to still target specific things? Let's just one solid message of diversity, and that this is for everyone.
Right.
And you got it. So I do believe that is, I understand why that came about, why people thought, you know, women, people of color weren't really drinking Scotch whiskey. It wasn't in our world.
Yeah.
We didn't. We just saw it on TV sometimes. We were like, okay, that's cool. But it was, my grandpa didn't drink it. So, but if they did, I probably would have considered it.
My dad is a huge Scotch drinker.
My grandfather is a whiskey guy. He definitely.
Well, see, so then for you guys, it was there, and you did probably. Then you were already exposed to it, and you probably were more likely to then pick it up later in life.
Yeah.
But
I definitely got scared of Scotch, though. I did.
Okay.
I was one of those people who I was very familiar with American whiskey.
Right. Vodka was first.
Yeah. I started with vodka in college. Immediately learned that was not for me.
Oh, yeah.
Then I transitioned to whiskey, but I was very scared of Scotch at first.
Okay.
I didn't really get into Scotch up until about 2 years ago.
Well, because if you think about what is the world built around Scotch? You know, it's people who've achieved these certain things. It's people with a certain amount of money. It's people that look a certain way. You know, it's always the badasses drinking Scotch.
Right.
So when you're just you're just trying to drink. You're just trying to have a drink. I'm not trying to be all crazy. So you don't think of Scotch.
Right.
But I'm trying to take it into, no, it's for someone that wants to drink something that's just complex and beautiful and
you just want to sip and enjoy.
Yes. Versus having to jump through all these barriers personally to then feel like you deserve Scotch. You deserve Scotch. You deserve Scotch.
Scotch for all.
I mean, I'm even guilty of the stereotype of like Scotch is for like that big brawly dude, like, you know, beard or old man that can like hardly do anything, but he'll pour him some Scotch. Like, I really like that was my idea of Scotch drinking,
and it's not
always neat, never
always neat. And that's also a lot of what creates a barrier for people drinking, is that they feel like they don't know the rules. There are no rules. There are no rules. It is your whiskey. You drink it the way you like.
Yeah.
So that's something I'm also in my tastings. I'm really, really adamant about teaching people that, and that you shouldn't be judgmental of other people either. The more people we have drinking whiskey, the more palates we have, the more money we have going into it, the cooler our whiskey can become.
That's real.
The more we're going to be able to innovate and create new flavors and palates within the category, and how wonderful is that? So if you're turning down somebody who hasn't had whiskey before, and you're treating them as if they shouldn't, then we're going to lose that person. They're going to just always think,
one less
that's
person to be invested in the brand.
Yes, not even the brand, in the category. I want to raise the entire category, which is why I will not speak of other brands.
Right.
Everybody's putting out their best spirit. We just all have differences in how we do it and what that's going to taste like in the bottle.
Absolutely.
But I will always, Scotch just happens to be my favorite category. So,
how do you feel about American single malts?
I think they're fantastic, and I think they're diverse. So tell me, so this is why I brought a few things. I kind of wanted to know what do you want to sip? What kind of flavor are you looking for today? I have a diverse array of whiskeys behind me. Hello, Glenn.
I love all the branded stuff. I am here for everything branded.
She's here for the stag.
I am here for the stag. So because we were having that conversation prior to getting started about peated whiskeys and actually your observations just throughout your experience and talking to people and just getting feedback from what they're actually into, I want to taste something peated.
Okay, can I do that after we do something else?
Absolutely.
We're gonna finish with peated only because a lot of that it stays on your palate.
Yes.
So we'll influence whatever you have after that.
Okay.
So let's go with something that's unpeated, which is honestly anything else.
Okay.
So Glenfiddich usually we don't do we do a peated run 1 week every year. That's it. Everything else is done with anthracite, so a super clean burning coal. So that's why when you drink Glenfiddich, you're tasting the malt, the fruit, the spirit. Anthracite. It's a coal.
Oh,
so basically, it's actually Pennsylvania is known for creating like, tons of anthracite.
Okay.
So that coal doesn't put off a smoke; it puts out just heat. So it's not then right.
It's not creating the smoke and flavor that everyone's anticipating.
Okay.
Yeah.
Full circle.
So do we want some sherry influence? Do we want some? Do we want to go a bit more oak, American oak influence?
Sherry.
Okay, so you had me at sherry.
Okay, well, I'm gonna do 2 versions.
Okay.
We're gonna do a tiny bit of each.
Okay.
Glenfiddich 15. This is my go-to.
Solera Reserve.
So what we did is we built an 11,000 gallon vat.
Sheesh.
It's huge. 17 feet tall. It's like this thing around 17 feet tall. We filled it with 3 types of cask strength whiskey. So ex-bourbon aged whiskey, ex-sherry aged whiskey, and new American oak. Okay? We put that all in the vat back in 1998, filled it to the top. It's never been less than half full since then. Nice. So we constantly put 15-year-old whiskey, bring it down to half, set those aside, fill it back up with 15-year-old whiskey.
Awesome.
Nice.
So that's the Solera process that we're doing that's actually legal in Scotland.
Okay.
Because we couldn't actually do the traditional way.
All of the
the Solera. So
why is that illegal?
well, there's a lot of reasons. So if you actually were to take the surface area of all of those barrels, if you were to put that would be larger than 700 liters, which is the largest barrel you can use in Scotland.
Oh wow.
Where it's not considered aging.
Yeah.
It would just be it would then be like for marrying or something, but it wouldn't be aging. Also, you can't really control how long it takes to get from the top to the bottom, right? Because you're just kind of it's just a blend.
Yes.
We don't know how much of this actually made it all the way through. So how do you come up with your age statements? So that's
why Solera doesn't have a lot of ages on it.
Yeah. So, but that's why this one is 15 because we know no matter what, it's 15 years that we just put in. So we also know that there's going to be drops, of course, left from like back in 1998 or maybe, you know. So it's the real blend, this beautiful blend of whiskeys. This is my jam.
Awesome. But the law is also you have to put the youngest age
exactly
there, right? Okay.
So the youngest that goes in, which is why it's the 15 versus saying, oh yeah, there's a little bit from 90.
Yeah, 30 years ago.
It's 15 years old. Yes. This is a non-age statement that we released in our experimental series.
I like the bottle.
Project 20, because it's 20 people. This is a compilation of 20 different people's fingerprints.
What?
Wow.
Super
I see the fingerprint. Cool.
Super cool. So this is the ambassador bottle.
Awesome.
So 20 ambassadors went to Glenfiddich. They got to run around in our combo warehouse and pick a barrel. Actually picked 5 barrels, tasted the 5, whichever one they liked the best, then became part of this blend.
Ooh, that sounds so fun.
Sherry, ex-bourbon, new American oak, all went in.
What?
We created that initial vat, and then we have been bottling to that same flavor profile, which is what Brian Kinsman, our malt master, is great at. So it's 47%, no chill filtration. Again, something that we as ambassadors, we wanted to give all of our Glenfiddich drinkers a little bit more proof, which is what we get to hear you. And then also just be able to have a little bit more of that viscosity by keeping those oils in, those fatty acids in the
which the chill filtration would take that out.
Exactly. So chill filtration, you're taking your whiskey, you're bringing it down to about 4 degrees Celsius, running it through a cheesecloth, which it's not really a cheesecloth, but running through a filter. Exactly. Running it through a filter to make sure that you don't have those oils, which then turn cloudy. So the reason this is also in a darker bottle is because it can get this cloudiness to it as it chills down. Those oils really just provide texture. So it changes the way you perceive your whiskey because it does add that texture. So so which one do you want to try first? Or do you want to just do one in each? You guys share.
One in each. We can do that.
Yeah. So absolutely. Because they both have the European oak influence to them in different ways, which is why I do enjoy this.
It's a great pour.
Yes.
We're sharing.
Yes.
We also do have water available. So if you guys would like
I almost never dilute.
The stag.
I like another stag. Respect the stag.
Yes.
So the nose on those is very different as well.
Yeah.
You're going to see. A drop of water will also change both of those whiskeys. What you're doing is you are basically changing the equilibrium, but you're releasing different more. So volatile just means that it's ready to go. It's active. So right now, what's sitting in your whiskey are the most volatile aromas that are already in the whiskey. So that's what you're going to be smelling. They're sitting up top. They're dancing. They're flying out of your glass. What we want to do is to change the equilibrium to allow newer aromas and vapors to be released. So adding that water, you're changing some of the chemicals that like water more, or the chemicals that like alcohol more are going to change and shift. You're going to break apart the chemicals that are stuck to the alcohol, and they're going to be available in the water all of a sudden. So that's going to
giving us education.
Yes, I love this
no
right
one
now.
explains these
I
things.
love this.
My biggest thing is breaking it down in a way that's easy.
Yes.
Easily digestible. It's little bites, right? So all you're doing is the things that like what they're hydrophilic and hydrophobic. So things that don't like water, things that do like water. So the hydrophobic things, we're adding some water to them, and they go, no, and then they float up and you get new tastes and flavors. It is a permanent change. So always be cautious when adding water, unless you know that whiskey and you just want to add a ton of water. Do what you want. Then you do you.
That's why I'm always hesitant to add water.
But I would,
if I love what I taste at first, I don't add
then
water.
There's no need.
Yeah.
I do because I like to play with my whiskey. That is a fun thing. I like to see what happens and changes, and also I can always just get another. So.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm usually sitting there with the bottle, so it's fun to see.
Or I'll add water
to
see if I want to drink it over ice.
So those are different things, though. You ready for this now?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so ice is now involving temperature. Temperature changes things dramatically.
Yeah.
Adding heat will make those aromas and vapors more volatile. So it makes them more active, right? So it means it releases them more. Heat produces more aroma. And when you add ice, it does the exact opposite. The same way that, like, when you walk out into cold and your body all of a sudden everything condenses to cold, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The exact same thing happens when you add an ice cube. So, so it actually is inhibiting flavor, but it's making a nice, cold, refreshing
Which is why people
drink.
douse things in ice if they want to calm something down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then they're just
Exactly. Then they're throwing them back.
Right. It's incredibly easy to drink. So it's not something that I don't dissuade it. I just want people to know what
it's
happens.
doing.
Yeah, just
Absolutely.
know. You can add whatever you want as long as you know what the outcome is going to be. Why are you adding that? I'm adding it because I want a refreshing whiskey, and this one's a little hot to me. Cool.
I'm going to do some water
Yes,
drops.
go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
I
Those are both
really
yummy.
appreciate the way that you explain things, and my question, I was trying to form the question earlier as we've been talking, but you pretty much explained it to me. The question was like, how do you make events and things so inclusive, but you being able to go above and beyond to break down things into a more simpler term already makes anything that you're doing so inclusive to people, right? Because I think that's certain.
It makes things less intimidating for people
Less
who
intimidating.
don't have.
Because
that's what
I
I'm
felt
trying
that
to
intimidation. I lived that, and I don't want from something I'm doing to make somebody else feel what
the
I
way
felt
you felt.
years ago.
Yeah.
Right.
It was such a visceral reaction of feeling like I'm somewhere I don't belong, that I don't ever want to do that to anyone. It's just really important to me. Yeah.
I mean,
And
it's
it shows through just everything that you do and the way you put yourself in the brand and everything that's very much a part of your purpose in even doing this.
Yeah.
So it comes
Thank
across.
you.
If you were ever wondering, it comes across for sure.
I mean,
Thank you.
it's been my biggest thing too. Is just like, what are the steps that are necessary to take to reach out to people of color and just be inclusive. What do I need to do? How do I say it? How do I, portray it through my social media, different things like that,
And not be.
now you're blowing my mind.
I mean, because we are women of color. We see the brands that are actively saying, I want to pursue women of color. And you're like, actually, that's your idea of what a woman of color is, and that's not me.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it is one of those things that we have to, and that's where I say sometimes I need to balance what people think I'm going to be and what people, because I think bringing your true self allows you to speak honestly and allows people to resonate with you.
Yes.
Because people can feel when you're
They
genuine.
can. They can.
Absolutely.
Versus being what they want. But also, I'm in an environment where I am expected to be a certain way, to act more elegant and luxurious. And sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'm just a big dork. But I need to be comfortable in bringing that as well, because it is a part of who I am.
For sure.
And that's so. I think that in advertising and marketing, we're all starting to catch up and realize that you just talk to people from wherever you really are instead of trying to cater to a very specific, because
Absolutely.
we are not in boxes, we are not in silos.
Absolutely.
And we can't talk to our audiences that way, our guests.
I definitely think that brands are catching up on being genuine. What's
Right.
a story? Now everybody's looking for a story to tell.
Everybody wants
to say, what are we like? What is the core of us? And
Yes.
I mean, it's introspective for the brands, which I think is really awesome. Being on the brand ambassador side definitely showed me really awesome things about marketing and telling a story and being like, every time we did our global meetings, I cried.
Yes.
Because the family of, I was with Santa Teresa, was just like telling stories, and then about the people that live in like slums nearby, the distillery, and like having them and bringing them up and things that I cried every time we met. I was like, I can't
do this every time.
No, I'm emotional.
But you will do it every time. Every time I go home, it's not my home. But every time I go back to Scotland and I'm at that distillery, I cry. I was really expecting, so maybe also my own fault, but again, when I said this has been easier, one of the things that I was worried about was the fact that people working in Scotland at the distillery doing this every day were going to be disappointed that I was going to be their face in America. That they're going to be like, who is this random black chick like talking about Scotch?
Yeah. And
so I was going to the distillery to learn for my first time and telling everyone, I'm the ambassador, and everyone was so excited. They were so generous with their knowledge, with their passion. And what's funny is a few of them were like, you should stay here and be our ambassador because you're more excited about it than us. Like,
nice.
But it never even crossed their mind. I actually did break it down with a couple people that this is what I was worried about. And they were like, why?
Yeah.
Like, what are you? But it's because we grew up here in the States.
Exactly. I was going to say it's perspective.
Very aware of race and color and that delineation.
Yes. And we tend to think that other countries or other places are also looking through that same lens.
It's not
definitely learn that the more you travel to other countries, that people are nowhere near as invested in the color of someone's skin as we are here.
Absolutely.
At all.
And that was it was refreshing.
Yes.
Nice.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm trying to get through these. So
okay, so what's your like?
Oh my god. So my favorite was
Project 20.
Yes. I mean, off the nose alone, you could definitely tell. You said really the different type of cast finishes that you have going on. Cherry notes to it. Oh my gosh. So
which is also an unusual note for Glenfiddich. To get that really rich red fruit.
Yes.
It just seems. This one for me is a little bit atypical. You definitely are still getting a little bit of that maybe apricot versus like pear apple, I think, but it's just a little off, and I think that's also what's interesting about it.
Right.
Yeah.
15 though, you still get a really beautiful spice note. You're getting just enough fruit.
I was just gonna say spice notes for me definitely came, and a bit of a I don't know if it was maple or maybe
for me
like
it's honey. But it could totally be a maple as well.
Just breakfast.
Yes.
Is what
I hear these.
Yeah. So this is the one. So 15 for me is
that red fruit
I can drink it any time. Project 20 is a little bit. I want to sit and have time to actually enjoy it. It's great with a cigar. So
I'm so bad at smoking cigars.
So good.
I'm
learning.
I'm like, I don't get the puff thing. I don't get
the not inhaling thing.
Yeah,
do not inhale.
You know what I inhale. Yeah. I'm just an inhaler. That's what I do. I have no idea.
Okay,
how to not.
So let's pull these.
All right,
those are both delicious.
I mean, what are we doing? Because I can just go with the next two and then just give you the fun.
I was going to say you are a fearless leader right now.
Such a great time.
Okay, so 14.
We're having a great time.
This has actually done an incredible. This is only in America and Canada.
What?
This was made just for our market, actually.
Amazing. Why is that?
It is a bridge for Scotch drinkers and bourbon drinkers.
Okay.
Oh, Bourbon Barrel Reserve. Gotcha.
Exactly. Okay. So this is 14 years in ex-bourbon barrels, which is not exciting. So the majority of barrels in Scotland, like up to 90% of the barrels in Scotland, are ex-bourbon barrels. They're American oak. That's normal. But we then worked with another family-owned company, a cooperage called Kelvin Cooperage. They're in Louisville, Kentucky, and they source barrels and make barrels for different companies. We worked with them because they're actually out of Scotland, not far from Glasgow. They moved from there to Louisville, and so we kept that relationship going. And they make custom barrels just for us. So they toast them for a minimum of 20 minutes. So breaking down those wood sugars in the barrel. When you're toasting, you're basically baking it, and then charring it to a 3.5. So it's a little bit under.
Ask about the char level. I just learned
40
about
seconds.
this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's creating fissures, and a layer of our charcoal is going to be on there, but not to the same point as having a full alligator char, which is very, very deep burn.
Yeah, and that's a level 4 char.
Exactly. So we're creating just under that, enough that you're going to get a little bit of that sort of smokiness from the char, but also you're going to be able to get the sugars because of the fissures in the barrel to pull the sugars from inside that barrel to sweeten it. We'll see what you think.
And charring a barrel, y'all, is when they take an open barrel, which is like wood staves. There we go.
Yes.
And bursting it with fire.
Absolutely open flame.
Between 15 and 55 seconds.
Exactly.
There we
so
go.
depending on which char level is going to be, so 15 would be your one.
And this is helping to caramelize a little bit of the wood that's in it, and that starts to give flavor to your spirit that's going into the barrel. So there you go. On
slide by
20-second bar chair of barrel char.
Did good.
Whiskey barrel char for sure.
And then we're going to 21.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had
These
this
are going to be very
one.
different, so I would
Yeah,
say,
I've never had
let
this
me
one.
just pour you both a little bit of that one, actually.
Okay.
And then 21 we'll put it.
Your littles are great.
I know. Your littles are fun.
Love this.
This is the rum cask finish.
Yeah, so this will be our rum cask finish. So this one is 21 years, mostly
How
American
beautiful.
oak.
Okay,
So when
Wait,
we're
so the
talking
bottles
about
are beautiful.
I want to talk about the
the
bottles.
Tround.
Is that
So that's intentional, obviously. Every part of it
so
is
we
intentional.
started doing this in the early 60s. Actually, late 50s, we were doing this already. But Glenfiddich in 1963 was the first single malt Scotch whiskey to market itself as a single malt and sell outside of Scotland. So before, everything was Scotch. So you would buy a single malt or you would buy a blended whiskey, but they were the same price. They were all from Scotland, so they were just Scotch.
Okay.
So what happened is, to make a blended Scotch, you need to have, right? So good. We need to have grain whiskey, which is made in your tall, continuous stills, and actually just goes to a higher proof, so usually it is a little bit softer in flavor.
Right.
Usually made from wheat or corn, but can be made from barley. Grain whiskey. And single malts. So to make your blended whiskey, to make your Johnny Walker's, your Grant's whiskey, your Dewars, you need usually about 60-70% grain whiskey, and then the rest will be a blend of single malts to really paint over with flavor.
Okay.
Your single malts always have, single malts tend to have more flavor because they're produced in your pot stills. Now,
Which I'm more biased to a pot still. Spirit in general, I prefer
it just really allows that flavor to dance.
And the texture is different, yeah.
Texture is very different.
So different.
Yes.
Mouthfeel and all that.
Yes.
Mouthfeel. And when you are non-chill filtering, you get even more of that. It is true. But to create consistency, to make sure we don't have white floaties. That's why we do our chill filtration.
Okay.
So in 1963, 62, the person that produced we bought our grain whiskey from, decided not to renew our contract. And that company owned all of the grain distilleries at that time.
Whoa.
Yeah, so we were in trouble. So instead,
Like, what do you do?
right? So instead, we were like, okay, well, people seem to like Glenfiddich. Why don't we just sell that? And they actually went to New York and created this marketing campaign around Glenfiddich. Straight malt was what they were calling it.
Okay.
Straight malt. Okay.
So
I don't think I've ever heard that.
the campaign was, once you sit with a Glenfiddich straight malt, you'll never stand for a blended whiskey again. Right?
Coming for you.
I like that.
Coming for you.
And they also charged a premium, which is where everyone got mad at us. Because all of a sudden you had Scotch, which was sitting at 5 cents, and then there was single malt, which we said was 10. But that allowed us time to really push out this new product. We were like Glenfiddich. We made sure that we had something that made sure people knew.
That it was
this
your
triangular
bottle,
bottle, this is our bottle, no matter what, you know it. And 1964, we opened the world's most technologically advanced grain distillery in the world, and we were like, haha, we made it.
That was your They thought they stopped you.
So it is one of those things that Glenfiddich, as a company, William Grant, they've been able to take a lot of challenges and turn them into opportunities, and that was one that I love to talk about.
Yeah.
23. Sorry, that's our Grand Cru, which I have been talking about for about the last 6 months.
Yeah,
long time.
Sorry, I didn't have any at home.
It's
felt so
okay.
bad, I was gonna bring it for
I love it too. She knows.
It's so good. It's
I
so
was
good.
gonna say I haven't tried it yet.
Oh,
Clearly I need to.
I love it. Oh my
Clearly I need to.
And I even had like a flask. I left the flask.
Oh my god, for a 23-year-old
the best.
whiskey, like how smooth
It's
and
bright, it's
approachable.
floral, it's just got this, and it's funny because
I
it's
like
not
floral
a
notes.
but
drink
it's
before I
acidity to it.
eat, which is crazy.
Exactly,
And then
that's exactly how I think it should work.
Okay.
It's lovely. Anyways, but we're drinking
So
21 and not 20.
One of these days, she's gonna sit down at dinner and be like,
Right, but that's what
Grand
we want.
Cru, please.
And we want it to be that it is for a celebratory moment, or it is just because you're turning your day into a celebratory moment.
you can
which
find
is what I
that
say.
at Imperial right now, right? Do they have
Yes.
it? Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Maybe
Absolutely.
we'll share a glass because
It's Charlie Palmer. It's over in it's in a few places. We got it around.
Nice. Awesome.
Usually it's at my house.
Right, so I'm
Drink
ready.
it all. It's my fault. Great. So, 14,
I wanna-
let's talk. What did you think
Oh
of
my
14?
god, okay.
Cold
Oh, yeah, got it. Yes. What did you think about 14?
So good. And I understand bridging between bourbon American whiskey
Yes.
into Scotch for sure. I mean, it was like
It didn't stand a chance in that glass.
Oh no chance! I was like, this is
I'm really into floral notes like honeysuckle and dried rose or
Yes.
whatever those notes happen to be.
Yeah.
I like floral notes.
This-
in my spirits and my wines. I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
And
can I smell yours again? Because
Yes, of
honestly, I
course.
drink it so fast.
And so you were saying that the actual location is in a valley.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
A little bit of citrus notes on the nose too. Just
Yes.
And I usually attribute more floral notes to spirits, wines, whatever that are produced at a higher elevation. So how did do you know necessarily why those notes, how do they
honestly,
make it in there?
so for these things, because depending on what you're talking about, when you're talking about wines, you are much closer to the actual terroir.
Yeah.
You are closer to the actual soil,
Yes,
the mineral content.
for sure.
That is going to affect even more the flavor component. So you want to think about those things a little bit more. When you're talking about Scotch, first, what people kind of were thinking about are the different regions. So the regions in Scotland were created to help people understand the diversity of the category and the different flavor profiles.
yes.
When they were created, we were still already starting to experiment and reach outside of those categories, but it gave somebody an easy way to understand Scotland and Scotch whiskey.
And can we go through those?
because it's what Highlands,
Absolutely. So
Bayside,
exactly. So
Isla.
the Highlands is going to be your most diverse. The Highlands is actually this whole huge inclusive area. You've got some that are going to be nice and smoky and salty, but it's more known for being a fruity, richer, malty style of spirit. Yes. Your floral notes will actually come in a lot of those. Speyside is actually a region inside of the Highlands, which it sometimes confuses people. We are a central area in there. Spey River runs through Speyside. Nobody actually uses water from the Speyside region, but it is a symbol that there is a lot of good water in that region.
Okay.
We are a mountainous region, and the reason the Speyside, which produces about 50% of all your single malts, the reason it produces so many whiskeys is because a lot of people were producing illicitly. So they were producing and hiding by these rivers, these streams, and these mountains, hiding away from the tax man and from people who wanted to take their pot stills. So those distillers then went on to create actual distilleries, and that's why Speyside is still the real heart and soul of single malt Scotch. They are known for being lighter, grassy, fruitier, sweet whiskeys in that region. Again, but we step outside of those. We have our peated whiskey with fire and cane. So it will always be diverse. You've got your lowlands, which used to be full of your grain distilleries. So the single malts kind of mirrored that flavor and are often grassy and very light and delicate. You have Campbellton, which it almost lost its regional because there's so few distilleries there.
Yeah, what did you say, Campbellton?
Yes,
I don't think I've ever heard
Campbelltown. Yes. Yes, so that region is actually tends to be a blend of like a nice oily, viscous, sometimes slightly peaty, but it is a rich,
I have
malty
some searching to do.
Spring.
Oh, okay.
You know it. Oh, you know it.
I got that
already for me.
Absolutely, and you're
It's here, actually.
which everybody knows or doesn't know is Isla. So a lot of people like to say Islay.
It's
I
like
It's Islay.
Islay out there. But it's Isla.
yes.
Or Islay sometimes, but it's not. No S.
No S.
So they do your more of your peated whiskeys. Of course, though, you do have places like Bunnahabhain or Brookloudon who don't lean on peat. They don't do peated whiskey. So again, though we have these regions, they aren't necessarily the end-all, be-all of the Scotch category.
Right.
So I like for people to know them, but also question them.
Yes.
Because you're going to get whiskeys that are from a certain region that may not fit that typical style. Glenfiddich 12 is a typical, like a Speyside whiskey. That it really is.
Yes.
You know, it's fruity, it's delicate, it's citrus, it's floral, it's all those things that you want from a normal Speyside. But then we bring out the 14, which is leaning a bit more in that oak. You pull a little bit of those smoke notes into it. We've got the peated with the Fire and Cane. We've got the richness in the Project 20. So what I love about being with Glenfiddich is that I do have all these flavors.
There's so much to play with.
So it's not that I just have a 12 that then stepped up 2 years.
Oh,
it's a completely different barrel
expression.
treatment.
Yeah.
Yes. So in cocktails or even just in my tastings, when we can let them sit for a little bit and you kind of, because what I do feel is true is that the more volatile aromas, so when we create our esters, when we create our basic distillery characteristic, it's always going to be that lighter fruity flavor, and those are always going to be the first alcohols to evaporate. So when they sit, when you just pour them and let them sit, there is something consistent about them. You're like, okay, these all kind of smell the same, and then as they sit a little bit longer, then you start to really realize what's in that glass.
Different nuances in each.
Exactly. So I enjoy that.
So it's like
also.
wine in that way.
I was gonna say whiskey can breathe. It breathes.
It breathes well.
Yes.
Yes. And really, what you're doing, what people say is oxygen. Oxygen is to wine what water is to whiskey. So when I say add 1 drop, that's basically doing a similar thing as what you would do when you're just
letting your wine breathe. Yeah.
The 14. I went through that quick. Y'all saw it.
Yeah.
So 21.
No, it's really, that's why I'm savoring mine right now.
It's 21 years and mostly American oak casks, which provides you with that toffee, that caramel, that coconut. That's American oak provides those same sort of.
I love this
But you
coconut.
cook that, right?
Absolutely.
If you think about that, right? Vanilla. So then we are finishing it in Caribbean rum casks. We are sourcing rums from 3 different Caribbean islands, blending it together to create a proprietary rum.
Do we know what islands they are?
Cannot.
I knew it because she didn't say that.
I did hear that one of them is an agricole producing island.
I love rum agricole.
So what I find,
I'm very into like vegetables.
You can smell the grassy.
Exactly.
You can.
So as soon as they said that to me, I was like, I know that because I always smell grass in this. And I used to work for Rum Clément, Rum Jam Damoiseau. So I also was very familiar with agricole. And as soon as they told me, I was like, oh gosh, it's all like. But I also get some ginger. I do get on the nose for me. It smells a little sweeter than it does on the palate.
There we go.
Which I kind of enjoy as well.
But also like a candied orange.
Yep. God, I could really sit here and smell this.
We're getting treated today.
This is my pleasure.
This is my favorite right now.
It's lovely, right?
This is my favorite.
I think there's a little more smoke coming on the palate
at the end
on this one.
So what I find, there's like kind of even like somebody said like an aged leather, like a because it's not pure smoke. It's because it's not it's
not
something
that.
richer.
Yes,
it's earthy
and it's chocolatey, very dark.
And a cocoa.
Yes.
Ooh, I think that's why it probably is my favorite because I like those chocolatey notes. I like cocoa.
Right.
I like all the
but
things.
Then on the nose,
rum.
you're getting the little kind of floral, fruity things that you enjoy as well. But then on your palate, you've got a rich.
Super well rounded. I like this.
Okay. You guys can have some later.
I want to talk about.
Okay, we need to talk about this.
Keepers of
the Quake.
I want to talk about this. Okay, y'all.
Which is what spurred the Forbes article.
Yes. So this is an organization that's been going on for many years in Scotland. It is basically these people. They are the keepers of the Quake. A Quake is a vessel that you use to drink whiskey with your friends.
Is it like a sake bowl?
Kind of, but it's got handles on it. Okay, so it's like
I watch a lot of anime things.
It's usually an intricate silver bowl. It's usually got different designs over it. You can also make carving from wood. It's
like secret society type.
You hold the hands of it, and like I would sip it, and then hand it to you, and then
you would sip it.
So it's a communal whiskey bowl, basically.
Okay.
It's meant to create bonds. Again, whiskey is just whiskey. Like this is, I know you hear me saying whiskey versus Scotch, because it's just whiskey. So that's one of those community things that again brings it down to being this is just whiskey. It's meant to connect us, and you use a Quake. So the keeper of the Quake, they are people who are making sure that the Scotch whiskey industry is maintaining its status, is maintaining its goal in the world of being a premium spirit, something that is respected and honored throughout the world.
Wow.
So people have to work within the industry for a certain amount of time. I'm not totally sure, but I think it's a minimum of 7 years, maybe 10 years. They then get nominated. The board will actually look at what you've done in the industry, why you deserve it, and then you go to actually a castle in Scotland, and it's like the secret society. So you go and you have
the Quake, the passing, the hooded people. I don't know.
You go to this castle, and then you've got this amazing pin that is yours, and it's just it's something that I hope to one day be a part of.
Oh, you'll be there. We know you will.
It would be amazing.
I have faith in this woman.
But I was invited to participate in the ceremony for the very first Keepers of the Quake US meeting. Very first.
Nice.
Now I'm not a keeper. I'm not claiming to be, but I was able to present the haggis. So there is a tradition.
Haggis is food. Is
It
is a dish, right?
It is food. So Robert Burns is a poet who wrote a poem. He was Scottish, and he wrote a poem about haggis and how eating haggis makes you strong, and it's why the Scottish are so strong, and like the French were eating ragu, so that's why they're weak. And
sorry, I laughed so hard at that.
Because that was some real shade. That's okay.
It's just a poem. I don't believe any of these things. I do like haggis though. So he writes about, and haggis is actually, it is a collection of innards that have been ground together with barley and spices, and you cook it in a sheep's stomach.
Okay.
So it is something that a lot of people are like, oh, but it's delicious. It's really good.
I'm down for any kind of meat, because any kind of meat in it.
It's really good. Often served with neeps and tatties, which is parsnips and potatoes.
Neeps and tatties.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah. That just sounds like it could be something else.
Amazing.
So one day we'll do a Burns dinner, and we'll make sure you guys get some. And so the address to a haggis is very important. It's this honor of we have the haggis, it is going to feed all of you, we respect it, and this man who wrote poems and also loved whiskey, these are his words. It's written in an old style Scottish brogue, and I worked really hard to get it right. Because I'm standing in a room.
Ceremonial in a way.
It was incredible. It is.
Yeah.
You walk around with this bagpiper and the haggis, and you got your sword, and you got all your things. So Andy Nash actually started it. He works with, I'm sorry, I'm going to get this, Pernod, I think. And he and I are friends. And when they brought this idea up that they wanted first him, because he does it everywhere. He's fantastic. He was a child actor. He's like brilliant. Like you just mad at him, right? And then they were like, well, what about if we had someone join you? So my name came up. They're like, she's a performer. She could probably do it. And I was like, y'all are crazy. So
crazy it might work.
My thought was, well, then I'll do like an Americanized. I'll just do it in English, or we'll like change the poem. And they were like, nope, not happening. You are doing this traditional. Doing it traditionally is going to be enough. Like you don't need to change anything else. So I worked really hard. He was incredibly supportive. And basically in the middle of the speech, he doesn't have a knife. So I had this like 3-foot sword. And I was like, will this do? And in the middle, like nobody expected it. It was a complete surprise. So then I get up and say, would you mind if I give it a go? And then he and I did back and forth the rest of this address in front of hundreds of people who've seen so many of these done that immediately cameras went, what is she doing? And why is she so aggressive? Why is she?
That's so amazing. That's so amazing.
I love everything about it.
If you see the picture in Forbes, that's what it's from. I'm literally like, and I gave it my all. And everyone was just blown away because no one was expecting it, and I did respect it. This wasn't done to like just throw tradition in the trash. This was done to show that these traditions can move on in our day. That they can be changed, and that I can still have a voice in this world, whether or not I was thought of 200 years ago, whether they thought that this is where it was going to go, I still belong. And it's really, really wonderful that they allowed me to be a part of that.
Yeah, for sure.
It was fun.
That is really cool.
Just like so profound. That last thing you just said, so profound about, even if they didn't think that I was going to be the one doing this, I'm here and I'm doing it. That is just like such a progression, for humanity, because they was not thinking about her.
Well, no, and not their fault, and not that
their fault, but like it's so true. But like it's so great.
So finding new, and what I worry about is that I don't want to have to find something that ties me to it heritage-wise, because it never will.
Yes.
And actually, there will be a lot of things that would pull me against it.
Yes.
We know how, we know what's happening. And so I always try to take it in context of, I just love the juice, and I love the complexity of this product, and I love that I can sit with a friend and we can have a glass of whiskey and have a conversation and have something beautiful here. And this is just a facilitator of that. Because if I personally don't want to necessarily tie things back, I want to take this beautiful category, move it forward in a way that works for us now.
Yes.
Every category has problems. Every category has ills, and if you can and if you can find something that's going to elevate that category and really change a focus and bring everyone a new perspective on it, then I am all about it. I just personally am not the one to do that work in Scotland. You know what I mean? Like that's not that would be from somebody who's Scottish. I wouldn't want to go in and take their heritage apart to come up with something that would work for Black women in U.S. That doesn't make sense. Instead, I'm going to take this beautiful liquid that your culture has given to the world and make it mine.
Yeah, right. I like that. I like the way you word that. I like the way you word that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's with a lot of things. It's just, I've been saying this all the time. It's just like education and really expanding.
It's so important.
Yeah. So many. I just want us to learn more so that we are indulging better.
Yes.
Indulge better.
Yes.
Cheers to indulging better.
Cheers.
Yes. I'm here for that. Now I have a question.
Okay.
Because, and this is more of like a.
Thank you for sticking in, guys. I know we've talked a lot.
Oh, you're gonna love this stuff.
This episode is gonna get a lot of love.
I'm so ready to rewatch this.
Exactly. But my question, kind of circling back to your purpose and why you even got into this in the first place, you weren't seeing anyone that looked like you. You didn't see yourself represented in the space at all, and you created a lane for yourself to basically pull more people that look like you along with you, myself included, because you and Kapri have both been examples for me in terms of the spirit ambassador space. I've learned a lot in my friendship with her while she's been going through her journey with Santa Teresa at the time, and I'm learning a lot right now, and even just witnessing you and watching you and stuff like that. I know we got familiar with each other at Tales a little bit, but do you have any advice for women of color in particular who want to navigate the ambassador space and just don't really know how to do that, really?
First, you don't want to be an ambassador.
Great question.
You don't want to be an ambassador. You think you do. Everyone thinks they do because it's the only thing we see. There is so much more to do in this spirit side. Don't say that. Don't think the right. Because it is always what everyone like. Oh, I want to be an ambassador. No, you don't know that you do. You just know that that's a step out. So instead, sit with me. Sit with somebody who has stepped on the other side and ask them. What other things are available?
I'm glad you worded it that way, because it is more so wanting to get beyond the bar.
100%.
Plug. But so okay, yes, continue.
So I love to sit with somebody who says to me, I want to be an ambassador, and I say, okay, great, let's go for coffee. Because then I will ask you, what do you actually like about the industry? What do you actually want to put out into the industry? How do you want to affect change? Because it may not be as an ambassador. It may be as a salesperson. It may be as somebody who goes in and learns how, starts actually doing production. There's so much room in this industry and we need to be everywhere. Not just as a face.
My experience so far, just being able to witness positions and people outside of just being behind the bar making cocktails, the spaces that really inspire me, I'm like, oh my God, I could do that. Most of them don't look like me, at all. No. And it's not even necessarily that it's like the atypical American white male or anything like that, but it is typically a male, and it is typically not an African American male or a woman.
Thank you, Cameron.
So I definitely so that is, I'm glad you answered it that way.
So I do understand why I was the same way. I needed to get out from behind the bar, and I was like, great, I have all these opportunities to represent a brand on the other side. So let me jump over there, not really looking at all of the things that were available. So maybe you would be good at being a luxury specialist instead. Maybe you would be good at doing quality control. Maybe you are super detail oriented. But the more that we just diversify the entire supply line, the entire industry, the more we're going to have an effect, the more we're going to have real say on what's coming.
Ooh, I love the way you answered that.
We will
be talking very soon. Please believe.
Because a huge goal of mine is to not exactly do a job fair, but something that bring industry people to, because I believe that I run into a lot of people that think they're stuck, right? They're stuck back there, they're stuck serving, they're stuck dishwashing, they're stuck in what they think there's only 4 or 5 roles in our industry, and there's so many more. I mean, just what the Mayos do, like maybe you want to do something like this, maybe you want to do art, maybe you want to
social media,
decorate social media, and it's just like I really that's one of my biggest goals is to create something like that where people can talk to people like you or anyone in different fields and just maybe even I'm not telling all my secrets.
Don't tell all the secrets.
Yeah, but that's been the great thing about Chocolate City's Best too. Yeah, that's been the great thing about Chocolate City's Best because I think a big part of what opened my mind to how many possibilities there were outside of just being behind the bar is competitions.
Yes.
And there are so little of us, and when I say of us, I mean particularly women of color, who actually compete and get those opportunities to see beyond that.
I agree.
Because I didn't realize that until doing Chocolate City's Best. Then that led to Express Your the Grey Goose competition, and then going to Miami, being in the Bacardi headquarters, and seeing just how diverse their actual team is.
For Chocolate City's Best, year 3 coming soon.
So yeah, that was what opened my mind to, oh my God, there's so many different avenues you can really take outside of this and make this your career. You don't have to be a career bartender.
Yes.
And because I knew that wasn't going to be what I did anyway. It's fine too, but there are ways to expound on that.
Yeah, it is.
That Chocolate City's Best took me there with that.
Glad.
So
okay.
Sorry,
so maybe we need to have a seminar with your Chocolate City's Best people about what to do with that, how to change that, how to bring that forward.
Yeah.
Like you are now competing in this, but how do you take that experience? How do you take what you're learning and then create a new path for yourself?
Right. Yeah.
If you want to.
It's definitely a trajectory starter.
Definitely been trying to ask them.
Ask who?
The competitors.
Oh, okay. I was like, you didn't ask me.
Not you. Just thinking out loud. Okay, so
we should be done soon.
Right. Last one, right? The peated one, and then we're
and then we're done. I forgot about that.
Then we're gonna let you go home or
Fire and Cane.
Whatever you're doing.
Fire and Cane.
Sorry, this conversation's just been so great.
Fire and Cane. Right. So Purple Rain, Fire and Cane. Probably works, right?
Right. Okay, I just got it. That's great.
Can't go wrong with Prince.
We're dorks. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
So this is our. So again, when we source the different rums, we're doing the same thing with this. We're doing more broad, so it's a Latin American style. Awesome. So we're pulling in more things that would have more of a molasses base, a bit richer, darker, deeper, because the peat was killing this rum. This rum is soft. It's not soft. It's just
the
more
color
gentle, more
of
delicate.
this.
Well, this is the bottle. Isn't that funny?
Really?
See
I
how
thought
it's
it was
right?
the spirit that color. I see it. Okay.
Yeah.
So the goal was smoke. Something in how smoke gets lighter as it goes up. The reason it is fire and cane. Fire for smoke, cane
for sugar.
Yeah. So we thought it made a lot of sense.
Yes.
I love the smell of peat.
So this is also, it is peated whiskey blended with unpeated whiskey to bring that peat level down,
Awesome.
and then finished in rum casks.
All right, y'all.
So smoke and sweet, yum.
This is the end.
Definitely.
Yes,
yes, you do.
Oh,
it's cool. No, it's cool.
All right.
I was definitely babysitting about 14 years.
We're so happy you came.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Oh my God, this is amazing.
We could talk forever.
We could.
Literally.
Yeah. Because this conversation is just so necessary,
and it's
so
just
so like it feeds my soul personally. So I could talk for hours about this.
I'm Spirited Tracie on Instagram because I want to use spirits to raise the spirits of others.
Tell them again, you are
a Spirited_Tracie with an IE on Instagram.
Okay, not a Y.
And yes, no Y. IE. Tracie with an I. Franklin. Follow me. It's fun. I put silly stuff up. Yeah.
It's a great page. You should definitely follow her. And we'll also put the link to the Forbes article that we're talking about with the Keepers of the Quake on down below. Yeah. Please go see that and check that out.
Oh, and I was on the Today Show too. We can put that.
Yes, all the things. You have access to all the things.
It was so cool, you guys.
We'll put the link to show that she was Brand Ambassador of the Year. Well, we're gonna remind Dee's gonna
do all of it.
I'm gonna all the things.
You're looking at me like, oh, are we? Oh, okay.
Good to know. Thank you.
But cheers.
But thank you for watching.
Yes.
If you made it to this point,
Thank
you are amazing.
Exactly. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm saying it wrong.
And we're out.